welcome back to my channel. It has been a minute since I filmed, but in all honesty, it has been very interesting, almost a couple of months. I have moved back to London. I'm fully settled. I'm so grateful, and honestly, the fact that I have come back to London just a month before the things started going a bit crazy in Bali, not even a month, like literally a couple of weeks before. I feel so grateful and supported and thankful to the universe for sort of taking me off the island. And in today's video, I really wanted to talk about my journey from Bali to London during the pandemic, and a few bits that you guys should know if you are planning a trip, if you are traveling from Bali and looking for the ways to get back home. Hopefully this video you'll find it helpful. Luckily, when I left Bali, Bali was still on, or Indonesia was still on the amber list, which meant that I have to isolate at home for about 10 days and do 2 tests on a day 2 and 8 before I can leave my quarantine. And also before I left, I had to take a PCR test and have a negative result in order to board a flight. Now, according to news or information that I've been hearing in Bali, that, you know, some people were sort of saying that you will have to have a vaccine in order to leave Indonesia and travel to your home country, which is not really the truth, but I would, and this is according to my friends that have left since the Indonesia sort of moved to the red list, and I would really double check every single bit of information on your country's government website before you leave, and just to make sure that you are educated, safe and protected throughout your journey. Now, the whole journey was actually fine, and even though I had 11-hour layover in Singapore, I felt really it went so smoothly. It was organized, it wasn't so busy, so I was just really able to get back home safely without no issues. I did feel safe throughout the entire trip, and I sort of went from Bali to Jakarta. I had a couple of hours where I had to wait for my flight to Singapore, and then once I arrived to Singapore, I stayed there for about 11 hours, and I had to stay in a designated area at the airport where people that were transiting to another flight or a country, sort of we were all kept in the same area. It was a very large area with sofas, so I was able to kind of get a nap, and I had a whole area to myself, which made me feel safe throughout this journey, because obviously I don't want to be on a busy flight, or I don't want to be in a situation where there's a lot of people around me. I still do believe, and having recovered from COVID 2 times now, I do believe that if you do keep 6 feet distance from people, you and the other person is safe. So it's just the best to keep the social distancing going throughout this whole pandemic, because honestly, I feel that does, reduce your chances of getting COVID. And I had it twice, and my main rule number 1, I try not to touch things too much, and I wash my hands all the time, and I just really keep a distance from people. And if I don't, it does really make me feel uncomfortable that people feel safe to come close to others. I'm doing my social distancing as much as I can, and I actually really like it for my energy purposes, because sometimes when I'm too close to a person, I do feel a bit affected by the vibes. So social distancing, everybody. So yeah, that really allowed me to travel smoothly, and I literally had a whole road to myself, so I was able to sleep throughout my flight. That was literally 16 hours long. I went with Singapore Airlines, so I went through Singapore, which is still on the green list, which means that if you do come from a green country list, you don't have to isolate. However, if you have been transiting throughout either red or amber country list in the last 10 days, you will still have to follow the amber or red country list rules. So what I suggest you do, if you are coming from Bali, and I know this is probably more expensive way to do things, but it will still be cheaper than having to do a hotel quarantine, which costs about £2,000 here in England, is to probably stay in Singapore for about 10 days and find a cheaper place that you can stay there and sort of isolate, and then take a flight to England and skip the isolation here. Now, this is all the rules if you don't have the vaccine. If you do have the vaccine, I believe you don't have to isolate if you come from the green country list and the amber country list, but you will still have to do the test, minus 1 test for the vaccinated people. For me personally, I am not vaccinated just as yet. I am still sort of trying to learn about it and how it affects and the effects it has on younger people. So I'm taking my time, but I'm actually being really careful about my whereabouts, where I'm going. I don't spend too much time outside. I don't want to go to busy areas, clubs, or anything like that. I feel like having lived in Bali for almost 2 years, I have clubbed a lot and I'm not really interested to be out and about too much with people. I do see friends that are healthy and safe, and that's as far as I'll go these days. But do I want to go to busy areas such as football games or I don't know, like concerts or clubs? No thank you, I'm not ready for that yet, so I'm gonna take my sweet time. So obviously Indonesia is on the red list now, which means if you were to travel from Indonesia, there are three routes to take. Three main that I've sort of learned when I was booking my flights, and that's via Singapore, which is on the green list. But you still have to follow the Indonesia country list rules if you were to travel or just transit at the airport like I did. Second, Amsterdam is also an option, which is on an amber list too, which means that you still have to follow the red list rules of Indonesia if you're transiting through an amber list country. And then you have Emirates, which is on the red list too. And if you are coming from the red list country, that means that you do have to follow the government's hotel quarantine rules, which is the most costly way to sort of like travel these days, and it's not very nice to quarantine in a hotel for 2 weeks if you ask me. So I would do anything I can to bypass that. Right now Singapore is on the green list and I would stay in Singapore for 10 days. However, this is only my opinion, and what I would do, I do highly suggest you check the government's website before you travel, because that's where all the information is and they keep on updating the rules. I know that Portugal was on the green list and all of a sudden they moved it to amber, which made all the people in Portugal, you know, leave their trips or like leave their holiday the same day the government changed the traffic light system, like, you know, making them sort of like A, spend more money on the flight, and B, cut their holiday short. And it's just not the right way to go about things. Again, we are in a very funny times on the earth right now, so I'm really hoping that things will calm down soon and we'll be able to, or people will sort of open their eyes to things that are happening in the world right now, and we'll be able to resume somewhat like normal life that we had before. I don't really see the world being the same as it was in the past, but you know, you never really know what's gonna happen, and it's very difficult to make any plans right now in your life. I literally plan as far as a week these days. I was meant to go back to Bali September time. I don't really see that happening either, and I probably won't be back until next year, which is sort of like okay, since I'm actually really happy being back to London, and I just love London. I really forgot how much I love this city, and you know, with all the healing and mindset changes that I've done throughout my time in Bali, I feel like London is the most expensive place for me. My businesses are doing great. I'm making way more money than I did in Bali. I'm able to do so much more for my brand, and I don't really want to leave that right now. And if sort of things are changing for me, I maybe want to settle down more in London. I do love this city, and it's like that place in the world that really feels the home for me, or the most of a home to me, since I have been sort of like wandering around a lot, moving places, traveling for the last 4 or 5 years. I really feel like I'm in a place in my life where I maybe want to get a place of my own and settle more. So yeah, I'm excited for the future and what's to come, but obviously it's just really important that we keep tabs on what's going on the government level and educate ourselves as much as possible, and just sort of like tune into our intuitions and listen to what our bodies and what our souls have to say as well, because it's really important that you do, if you do disconnect from yourself and go into fear-based decision making, that's not gonna, you know, like benefit you in a longer run whatsoever, because you will experience more of negative situations in your life. It's so important to lead from a place of love and just, you know, like make those decisions with the best possible expectations in for yourself and others around you. And if situation is not serving you, or if it's bringing you negative emotions and feelings, or if it's bringing you down, I highly recommend you sort of cut ties with those situations and people, because the time that we live in right now, it's so important to be in a positive mindset and be in like sort of like healthy vibrational frequency, or like a high vibrational frequency as much as possible, so that you can protect yourself and your family and your loved ones, and have like a very, you know, like tight circle at home, and just be happy and joyful as much as possible. I know it's like a very difficult time for so many of us, and you know, like if we all go into fear more, and if we go into this place where it's like where we're really scared and we can't really, I don't know, like we just don't feel right to, or where we start sort of like blaming others when we don't feel right to like live a happy life, that's a problem, and we have to change that. And the only way to change that is to work on yourself, identify the causes or the root issues of the unhappiness, and try to build this positive picture around it and positive momentum as much as possible, because then you will be able to experience law of attraction, bringing you more of positive situations that will benefit your life in a longer term. So everything starts within. Identify the reasons that negative situations are manifesting in your life, and then try and change those if you can. And I have quite a few tools that I use, so hopefully I will get around making another video that helps me, you know, heal, or like I've been doing a lot of real-time healing, because I've like unblocked a lot of traumas from my childhood and like my earlier life in Bali. So I'm so grateful for that. And now when things come up for me that need releasing, I'm able to do it in real time, and I'm able to just get myself like to high frequency that much quicker. So anyways guys, I hope this video helped you make a decision about traveling, and you know, of course, stay safe, stay healthy, be mindful of yourself, listen to your intuition, be mindful of others around you, keep the social distancing going, and just try and protect yourself from negative information out there, from news, from mainstream media, fear mongering the government has been placing upon us a lot. And you know, just tune back into yourself, heal what needs healing, and hopefully 2022/23, I don't see next year being much better than this year, but the stronger and more loving we stay, that better things will come for the collective. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.